ABSL Summit, Beyond Tomorrow, Building a Sustainable Future.
The next subject, the next panel is called Reinventing Business Model in Favor of More Sustainable and Resilient Growth.
And let us welcome Remigiusz Wojciechowski, the head of Buyer Service Center in Gdansk, who will introduce his guests and will talk with them for the next minutes. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
And let me start by something unusual and by welcoming the audience watching the live stream. And if you are watching the live stream, you probably don't see the audience in the room. And I have to say, I'm very surprised to see that so many of you are here, and it's many more than the people I paid for showing up. Because the thing I was fearing for this panel, which is the first panel of the day, is that we will be talking to an empty room. So thank you very much. It shows that we have a very resilient audience at ABSL conference. And resilience, as you can tell by the topic, is one of the subjects we will be talking about, and also sustainability. And for the purpose of clarity of the discussion, we have when I mean myself and the speakers I will introduce in a moment. We have agreed on a simple definition so that we talk about the same thing. You may have noticed, even during the conference, that the definitions may differ a lot. So we defined resilience as the ability to survive a crisis and maybe even thrive in it. And sustainability is the way of doing things that make us happy today, but also look forward to tomorrow. And for these topics, we will today focus on asking ourselves how they have changed or are likely to change the business models. And for this discussion, I would like to invite my wonderful speakers, starting with Piotr Ferszka, the Vice President and Sales Director for SAP Poland. Piotr Mechecki, representing the wonderful company that has just been shown in the video, the Managing Director of the investment area. Beata Osiecka, the CEO and Managing Director of Kinnarps Poland. And last but not least, Fabio Pommella, from Senior Director of Operations, Area North, and the Chairman of Whirlpool, Polska. All right, so let's get the discussion going. And Fabio, when I think about one of your responsibilities, which is being responsible for the supply chain in Poland, but also in the UK, I can imagine that at the beginning of 2020, the thing that you were worrying most about was the Brexit. And then out of the blue, there comes the pandemic. So if you could share with us a little bit what was the experience, what were some examples of what you've experienced, and most importantly, how do you think this is going to impact and change the business model running forward?
Okay. So you touch a really hard point. Let's say that the last year and a half was lived like 10 years of career. We were really studying, focusing a lot on the Brexit and the impact that can have. And then pandemic arrived, and last but not least, then Suez Channel blockade, availability of containers and so on. So really dramatic situation, but honestly speaking, this was a good test for the company to understand how much we are resilient and really how much we can afford the business. So we rediscussed in one night everything that was already established for the Brexit and so on. One of the key points that I have to say, for sure the key of success is that we have already worked since several years to have not anymore an offshore supply base, but more localized. And this was one of the key points that we were able to meet the needs. Also, the other big impact was that from one day to another, the market collapsed. So we had zero order for a couple of months worldwide, not only in EMEA. And then after 3 months, instead, the orders start to go like a hell. And this was also another challenging, because managing the, I know that here a lot of people are working, let's say, in the back office, but in the reality in which you have the back office, but also supply chain and manufacturing, was really rock and roll. Because you have to reorganize also the operations. The people, unfortunately, cannot work remotely in operation, even if we are reducing a lot the impact of the people in the business with the new technologies. But this is one of the points that then I believe my colleagues can be not agree. I believe that the human factor remains still a factor in our business. You can have the most fantastic system and autonomous system that are available on the market, but if you don't have the right people with the right competence, you have the tools, but you cannot play the game.
Okay. Piotr, I think you may have a slightly different opinion on that topic when it comes to automation and the importance of the human factor in such situations.
Yes, how do you know about it?
Preparation.
Yes, that's true. When we were discussing before this potential areas of discussion, I noticed that our world is going so fast that it's more and more popular automatization of the processes, robotics, that in my opinion, putting emphasis on such strategy that we can not, I'm not telling about fully substituting people, but to use people only for those part of processes which we cannot automate. So in that manner, I think that the automatization of the processes and let's focus on decreasing costs and also to be resilient to such changes like coronavirus, it's crucial for the company, for the production company, to be successful.
Okay. So in that sense, both is true. Automation and robotics can help you to be more resilient, but it will not work if you don't have the people.
Exactly.
And how was your experience, building all those almost skyscrapers? I imagine that you were in the middle of some projects, and then suddenly people may be saying that they're afraid to come to work. How was it, and what have you changed in the way you do business, in the way you plan business as a result?
Well, construction business is that kind of business which needs to rely on people. I mean, it's in current situation, it's difficult to not to use people to build the skyscraper or the big flat of houses. But in our situation, the outcome or the problem which we faced when coronavirus appeared was that our general contractors who are using subcontractors from the abroad, from the east part of Europe, for example, from the Ukraine, for example, when the coronavirus happened, that people wanted to come back just for Christmas, and they couldn't back.
Because the borders were closed.
Yeah, the borders were closed. So 70% of the staff on the construction side were unavailable, and the general contractor had to look for solutions which will not endanger the schedule of the construction. There were some techniques which we could use. Ultimately, it didn't impact our schedule, but it was tough time because not only people, but also supply chains, which are affected by the problem, and you need to have a backup. Sometimes the backup is not possible because you have one company which delivers material, so it's a big challenge.
But I guess that's something that you need to learn to live with and invest in agility rather than trying to change that, because how would you want to change that, right?
Yeah, I would say that the most critical in such approach are two things. Diversification, even with the supply chain, so if you have to have a backup. And the second thing is to actively manage the risks. My experience is that companies are not so focused on managing risk properly, and in such situations, in such circumstances, it's vital for the company to foresee and to react on at the proper time.
Yeah, just like with insurance. Beata, when you look at the agenda of this conference, you will see that there's a stream dedicated to people, also in the context of resilience. For Kinnarps, I mean, Kinnarps is, you lead an organization when you, of course, also take care of the resilience of your employees, just like every one of us. However, for Kinnarps, there's also another perspective, because the resilience of the employees of your customers is, I think, an important factor of your business model. If you could maybe share some light on that and how this is changing as a result of what we have just experienced.
I will try to cover both things, the resilience within our organization and how we help the resilience to build resilience with our customers. And I will mention 4 elements which I think are critical. The first, of course, is financial stability, healthy financial situation, which helped us a lot to survive the crisis. I must say this crisis hit our sector quite heavily for a while. And we managed to do some cost changes before the crisis started. So we work on the productivity and profitability, so when the crisis came, we were profitable. And it gave our customers and our employees a fantastic feeling of stability, that they can rely on us. We are safe partners, so this is one thing. Another thing is, of course, the supply chain, the same. We are a production company, we have the same thing. So we are carefully choosing for years our suppliers, and we produce a lot of things near shore. We didn't import anything from China, so we had to produce all the time, and we have our own trucks, so we could deliver all the time, while others were struggling with the supply chain. So this was the second element. And then we are coming more closely to our customers, and it's about agile process, because at Kinnarps, we believe that, of course, we have a 3-year plan, 3-year strategy, but we review it and adapt. We review it and adapt, a little bit like a digital agile processes. And we also advise the same thing to do with the workplace management for our customers. So maybe some of you were listening to yesterday Niels' speech about minimum viable product in the case of a workplace. This is exactly what we are talking to customers, that the workplace project doesn't have to be done once every 5 years, a big and finished and fantastic, huge project. It should be a process, an agile process, where you introduce a minimum value product at the beginning, those critical functions you need to start with, and then you test it, allow mistakes, and in the next sprint you adjust it and improve it. And this is the way how we work with the customers, and I believe in this way we help them to build a resilient workplace environment which support to be resilient all over. Mm. And of course, at the end of the day, I have to say and mention this human factor as my colleagues before, because it's all about people. So it's all about the attitude our people have. It's all about leadership, but also middle management and our team. And we also believe, like in every panel, it was mentioned that this is the resilience is much about HR process. And we as a company, we can support to build the right culture through the right work environment. That's quite important. So we feel that we can help a little bit to build resilience within our customers, as you asked for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it transpires already at this stage how very much resilience is connected with agility. And you mentioned the financial stability, which helped you, and I also remember that our employees were very thankful that nothing was disrupted in terms of being able to pay salaries, something that they have experienced from their friends or families. And I also remember that one of the things that kept us afloat at the early stage of the pandemic, when in the service center in Gdansk we and all the other centers, we asked employees to move to their apartments and continue working from there, was that we were in the cloud on the Microsoft 365. And I can imagine that we're not in the cloud in SAP yet, still premise. It's one of the big projects on the radar, which we thought back then would be one of the key challenges. But I could imagine that what was happening, that this is really now also affecting the demand and the interest of customers to be in the cloud to support their resilience.
For sure, all this situation with the pandemic had a huge influence on the interest on the cloud, and the resilience. Many companies started thinking about it to be resilient. On the last year, on the March, when everybody had to go to your own homes and to stay in homes, and to just shift all the business models toward the remote work, and looking on the situation in Poland, we are really far behind the Western countries regarding cloudifications, regarding cloud adoption. And we've seen a lot of the movement in this area. So many companies, many customers realized that flexibility, which gives you the cloud solution, is a key to survive in such a difficult world. Fabio mentioned that one day all the orders disappeared, and after 3 months you had the massive sales. So normally you are not prepared for such huge peaks. With the cloud you can be. So it's of course kind of the prescription for the being the resilient. I believe that I for sure can agree with Piotr regarding automation and artificial intelligence. It is important, but there is no business without the people. No business. So I believe that we can be more productive, we can be more efficient, and we can be more human-oriented at the end of the day, using tools who help our employees, and they help our customers then. So it's why we are focusing on that areas and every area of the company: production, finance, human capital management. And this was the big challenge for some of the companies: how to, for example, recruit, onboard new people in the pandemic time. So it was a challenge, and they realized that tools and right solutions are really important for whole the process. And the business can be really supported if you have the well-equipped people with all tools, not only normal tools like Hammer, but the solutions, IT solutions, and the artificial intelligence as well.
Okay, concluding a little bit the topic of resilience, it shows that regardless of the industry, there was a huge impact and there were a lot of learnings, and it is to be expected that these learnings will not only apply for the period of the pandemic, but also beyond, to be better prepared when it happens again. Let's now shift our focus to sustainability and the ability to make money, taking sustainability into account. We have heard yesterday, if I understood correctly, that for 60% of organizations, if they have a sustainable business model, they're actually more successful than the companies that don't. But it's important to be aware that if you want to be a sustainable company, you need to also survive the short term. And I could imagine, again, looking at Whirlpool, Fabio, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I think about simplistically is that a company like Whirlpool, from today's perspective, the more fridges or washing machines you sell, the more successful you are. And now if you came up with the idea to be more sustainable and maybe produce fridges that don't break after 10 years, but maybe after 20 years, or that it's not cheaper to buy a new one, but to get it repaired. This would be sustainable, but this would immediately hit your business because you would be selling less. And who knows, if the customers are willing to pay the higher price, because the competition may still be offering cheaper ones. How do you go about this? Is this is it possible to be sustainable in this area?
Yeah, it's possible. I will be not hypocrite that the business, the more you sell, more you earn. So everyone is focused on the EBIT of the company. So it's obvious that you want to sell more. About the fact that you create a product that is consumable and then instead of 10 years, 20 years, honestly speaking, in the today world, a lot of the technology, because especially the new generation are looking always for something more. So the cycle of life is reduced by itself. This is the first. The second, anyway, is to have the approach on the business that has to be longeverant and don't watch immediately to what you can have tomorrow, because even if you can have immediate success, then you will be not sustainable for the future, and the risk is to collapse. So you have really to play on the edge to try to maintain the business sustainable in the short terms. And in that case, again, people and the way in which you apply the solution that can give benefit immediate, but also long-term, are crucial. I can use several examples. When we speak about design of domestic appliances, we are looking for long-term. So the most sophisticated solution using all recycling material to be zero carbon impact, but then there are the daily life. We are opening the factory and the warehouses and the supply chain every day. So how we can not impact on this? And there, as usually, again, you have to use the people, engineering, to try to operate and be sustainable. Example, we are painting our domestic appliances. Now everyone likes not to buy the simple white. You buy silver and so on. So this has, of course, an impact on environmental. So, but you have to invest a lot to do in a way that then all our machine has a filter, the proper filter. And the good things is that before, the residual material we were putting out with a lot of cost. Why to not reuse? So, for example, the sludges of our painting are used to create the bricks for the roads, because they are anyway organic material that has good absorption about the water. Is simply to reinvent the way in which you are doing the things. And the challenge is exactly this. If you stay there only to observe that the things happen, you will be killed. Instead, you have always to be aggressive and have the courage to apply something that can give then the benefit and be sustainable for the future. As I said, long term is to project something that has zero impact, but anyway I have to continue to produce. So in the same time I have to invent something that has less impact for the environmental, and in the same time can give also money. Before I was selling the sludge, and not selling, I was obliged to pay company to take care of the sludge. Now I'm selling the sludge to another company that is able to transform in something else. I don't know if I was clear enough.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that the requirements and also the expectation from the society that companies are more sustainable, they're not always fitting today's business models 100%, but they at least spark creativity and sometimes produce surprising.
You use the
revenues.
right adjective. If you want to be sustainable now, and not only watch, because everyone I heard also during this day, to plan what you want to be in 10 years, sorry if I say, is easy. But to be sustainable today is much more difficult.
Yeah. Beata, I learned that it's Kinnarps. It's spelled the Swedish way, right? So
both ways.
Okay.
Both ways.
So Kinnarps is also the way I look at this, a company that thrives on selling products, selling furniture. And again, this is, strictly speaking, not immediately sustainable. So how do you deal with this topic? How do you maintain a profitable business, but at the same time fulfill the expectations?
Yeah, I must say that sustainability is not really a new subject for us. It didn't appear in our company due to the new trends or requirements. It was always a part of our DNA. Imagine that all our factories are situated in the middle of Sweden, which is a food basket for Sweden. So, you know, those environmental choices were very natural choices to have. So we started there, and then it was a cost issue. To waste is a cost. So I give you a story about our blankets, famous blankets, which we wrap our furniture in to secure the deliveries, the packaging for the deliveries, and they are reusable. And originally we invented that because of the cost. We can use it, and we don't pay for the packaging. And later on, we calculated that we save 270 kilos of packaging per lorry. So that means like probably 3 or 4 such full rooms of garbage less every week from our side. So these were the natural choices which came from the simple understanding: don't waste, use only what you need. And of course, then we design our products to last long. And that's very important for sustainability, that you can use it and reuse it and reuse it again. It's based on the platforms, which means like a Lego blocks. You can change the configuration of those solutions for different use, for different purposes. You can remove them, you can refurnish them, and so on and so on. So we have customers from the 90s. And of course, there are a lot of different elements, like how we pack our furniture. We have a special packing system that instead of using 3 trailers, we use only 2 trailers, and things like that. You can read it all in our reports. But yes, it's a trend that there are less and less office furniture being sold for different reasons, for home working, hybrid work, for sustainability reasons. We have more and more inquiries recently of customers where sustainability was a prime value to consider during the purchase process. And we have more and more inquiries from customers, especially in Nordic countries, in public sector, where at least part of the furniture in the project has to be used as old furniture, existing furniture, renewed furniture. And of course, there's a question mark. How do we compensate? Exactly. How do we compensate? Yeah, there are two things here. First thing is still a lot of new furniture is being sold, and we aim at growing our market share there, because we believe those attributes I was talking about, the quality, long-lasting design, timeless design, long-lasting functionality, that is a value, and it will help us to grow the market share. But on the top of it, we build up services, renewing, refurbishing, rearranging, buyback option, long-term rental, office as a service, etc., etc. So these are the things we really want to compensate with. Plus, of course, today we have the solutions for home workers, which is gives us opportunity to enter a little bit different segment. Yep, that's more of that. And of course, we build the knowledge on the top of it to assist our customers in this journey of long cycle of using the furniture, because that's the most important thing for now.
Sounds a little bit to me like IBM being a hardware company in the past and then moving into services, consulting, and so on and so on. Piotr, real estate and sustainability. Do you see growing demand from investors? Yes. And we have investors, potential office investors represented here.
Yes, for sure we see the big demand, but I would, first of all, I would like to say that there are analyses which show that 30% of the global carbon dioxide emission is caused by the real estate sector, out of which 10%...
that's huge.
That's huge. 10% is being created during the construction process, but 28% is during the service period. So for the owners, for investors who, or asset managers who deal with such buildings, it's very important to be aware how they can change those buildings, those assets, to be closer to this goal, which is quite obvious now. So up to 2050, to be neutral with the gas emissions. So what we do in our, what we see in our business is that we are, I may say we are lucky, because the big driver for the construction business and for the offices especially, this is the certification process. I think that in Poland, I don't know any building which is now under construction or is planned which do not foresee to be certificated. In our investment, in our buildings, in Polski Holding Nieruchomości, we certified buildings in BREEAM system, which means that those buildings meet the highest standards regarding the pro-ecological approach. Our investment, which we are currently doing in Warsaw, Sky Sava, it's a skyscraper in the city center. For example, we planned to be certified at the highest level, outstanding, which means that among buildings in Poland, there are 5 or 6 buildings which are certified to that level, but Sky Sava received the highest ranks, as for now. What does it mean? It means that both tenants, but also people who will be visiting or going through the building, they will see that it's pro-ecological, that is, there are some systems which can, for example, limit the use of water. It's like standard, but also what is important, this building was created on the site. It's a kind of greyfield investment. In the past, there was an old, ineffective building constructed in the 60s of the previous century. So this ineffective building, it will be totally renewed with a new, updated, let's say, investment.
So trying to minimize the footprint, and it's good to hear that obviously there is demand on the market for that, because of course this is not, it comes at a cost.
Well, the costs are always important from the investor side, of course, as Fabio mentioned also. But I think that looking at long perspective, the cost will be, let's say, the investor will benefit.
In the long term, it will pay off, yes. Exactly. Piotr, when I was thinking about sustainability and SAP, I was like, a software company, okay, they might want to run their servers, you know, using reusable power. But is that in any way a topic, sustainability for a software company?
It's a big topic. It's you touched something area where I'm really passionate privately. So I'm the owner of the wind turbines farm. I'm building my hydro power plant. I'm building my solar installation right now. So I'm really passionate of the distributed energy and the distributed energy production. And you mentioned about the zero waste, and we agree that I will not sell here, but we have, of course, tools to manage the costs of the process of the zero waste. But where we are as a Poland, and what we want to do in the next 30 years, so we want to be almost zero emission country. So we want to decommission big portion of our energy sector, really big portion of our energy sector. Over 70% of our energy generation comes from the dirty sources. So, and this is the really huge process for the whole country. This is the shift, similar, in my opinion, to the changes we had in 1999 when we shift from the communist to capitalist, and we shift whole the economy. In Poland, we have to shift whole the energy to the green sources. SAP was the partner for such shifting, for such transformation.
But why do you need SAP for that?
Yes, so to managing all the process. If you're closing the mines, if you're closing the carbon power plants, you have to close it. You have to finalize the books. You have to close the books from the financial perspective. You have the whole process of the construction of these power plants, and moreover, at the end of the day, you have the land after these power plants you can use in different ways, like parks or sky towers, and everything is every piece of this business is a process, and we can easily help you to manage this process, and we place ourselves as a kind of the enabler for this whole process and for this transformation. By the way, in my opinion, this is for us, all of us. It's a big opportunity to prepare for the new business models in the future. So we will shift the whole Silesia region, almost whole Silesia region, for the different business, and we have to do something with these people. At the end of the day, manage all the education process, trainings, and so forth. So we are enabled somewhere. We can help with this shift, and we have the tools to help our partners to do that. So this is for sure our role, and for me it's a big thing personally, because I believe it's really a good way to move forward.
So a big wave is coming, and it sounds to me like you plan to surf on that wave.
Yes, for sure.
Now, looking at the time, I will need to do some adjustments in the topics I wanted to touch upon. And one of the topics was giving the audience the opportunity to ask a question. So you now have 5 seconds to raise your hand if you have a question. Doesn't seem to be the case. Then I move to the last topic, and that's the question: with all these changes in the area of resilience, and probably even more in the area of sustainability, and also the regulations. We heard also yesterday on the EU level, there's so much regulation, and if you need to fulfill regulations, someone needs to take care of that. So do you have an aspiration for the representatives of the business sector? What kind of opportunities arise from these changes for this kind of companies? And then whoever wants to start, starts.
Maybe I can.
I heard that's the popcorn method.
Okay. So now, about the future of the company, and especially of, I believe, here the topic is also how to leverage the business in SSG center and so on. So today, the SSG center are operating, let's say, apologize for the terms, is not fully correct, but it's back office for all the activity that the company believe are not core, but you have to anyway manage and do. But anyway, there are a lot of competence and things to do. And the company want to, of course, have a margin, so they want more with less. This is something that I can experiment also in the operational. As you said, I'm managing not a country, but an area. And always when you have to cut the cost, that always then impact on the people. But to let then the things to function well, and also to explain the people, is always the optimization. The optimization passes from the fact that if you have something that functions in some part, you have to copy-paste and leverage on this competence. So for me, the future is that you have to accentuate the competence that you have in your localization in this kind of center, that they became a sort of not anymore back office, but a front office that can offer services of competence to the organization. That has to be much more only operational. So
do you think that the sustainability debate and resilience, that the experience we had with the pandemic, that this is now accelerating this process? Because it's not new. I mean,
for sure it's accelerating because of the fact that how much the business travel has been reduced. Sometimes if you want to check something, people were traveling, and I have to be there to control how it is. And usually then you travel with the 3-4 people that has the right competence. Why don't put all the competence in one place, and then using the technology and the tool that you have today to control from this part the rest. And what you before were doing with 10 people, you can do with 5, with the right competence. So leave the added value in central and the operation on the peripheral.
10 seconds left. 10 seconds left. Any more inspirations?
I have some. Well, just briefly. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe idea for IT companies to develop a kind of a software and a tool to help procurement to make more sustainable purchases.
We have it.
We
have it.
Okay, let's talk. Yeah, to include this long life and circularity in the decisions. And the second idea was that the buildings have the certifications. We in production have ISO for 14,000. And how about organizations? Do we have a kind of a common certification system for green organizations, also in business services sector, that we are sure that we don't waste, we know what we buy buy only what we need, and we use and reuse. And then when we recycle, when we stop using it, we are sure we recycle that. Maybe we could think about kind of a common global certificate for organizations in that terms. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, we could continue for hours and hours. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for the audience, our time is limited, so I'd like to thank you for your attention, again for showing up, your resilient audience, and thank you very much, Fabio, Beata, Piotr, and Piotr, for your contributions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resilience, maturity, talents, growth, innovation. The change made us stronger. This all made us sustainable. ABSL Summit. Beyond tomorrow. Building a sustainable future.